Like even like I was like, oh, I guess fate you can use that for luck, but even that is a little bit different than luck per se. I mean, there is some wiggle room, but fate in this instance seems to be a lot more about prophecy.
I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
And I'm Nerdarchy Dave.
Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds.
All right, we're back at it for our second part to Wonders of the Multiverse, the new Unearthed Arcana. We're going to be talking about the Cleric Fate domain. I'm surprised, there's still so many domains that we haven't covered yet for 5e D&D.
It's crazy, but to me it makes sense. Literally, you can have dozens upon dozens of domains. If we look back throughout the editions, there's so many different options. I can remember in 3rd edition, clerics or the gods would list as 4 to 6 things that were their domain, and you could have dozens of gods. So each of them, there might be some overlap, but there's always new directions you can go with cleric domain. I think that's the easiest to make new classes for.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, one, it doesn't require a lot of work, and we always know the 8th level ability is going to be the same. And then, like you said, there's so many different spheres of influence. I was like, oh, I guess fate you can use that for luck, but even that is a little bit different than luck per se. I mean, there is some wiggle room, but fate in this instance seems to be a lot more about prophecy.
Yes, and while you could, if you've got a luck domain, use that for something that's fate, and as opposed to, it being oriented by good fortune, it's oriented by fate. But when you twist it and actually make it be fate, you can structure it differently and make cool things like we have here. All right, but before we dive into the fate domain for the cleric, if you like these videos, others like it, as well as all the awesome content over on nerdarchy.com, why not come check us out on Patreon and throw us some support over there?
Articles like new invocations for the Norn Warlock Pact.
Let's dive into the Fate domain on this Unearthed Arcana. Gods of Fate perceive the future and how the choices mortals make drive them toward their destinies. Some deities consider the futures preordained, while others understand that the multiverse has a place of infinite possibility. Clerics who draw power from the forces of fate sometimes receive visions directly from their deity and receive fleeting omens of the future. They share impossible knowledge with their allies and prophesize their enemies' doom.
We get a fate domain Deities List. So, example, deities, Severus from Forgotten Realms.
You got Istis from Greyhawk.
Gillian from Dragonlance.
And Labalus Anorath from the Elven deities.
So it'll give you some ideas what you're using if you're playing a particular campaign setting, or, you can figure out your own fate domain deity for your homebrew campaigns. Then we get our domain spells as always.
So first level, we got Dissonant Whispers and Heroism.
3rd, you get See Invisibility and Warding Bond.
5th level, you've got Beacon of Hope and Clairvoyance.
7th, Death Ward and Divination.
And 9th level, we have Commune and Gaius.
I like this list. I think it's a strong list. It gives you access to things that are useful that you might not take sometimes as a cleric.
Yeah, I definitely see these as cool things, and most of them I feel definitely have the whole fate tied in. The only one that I felt was a little awkward was Dissonant Whispers.
So I kind of in my brain themed that as, you're whispering the different fates and potential fates and possibilities into the mind of your enemy.
Yeah, I couldn't see how it could be twisted that way, but I felt that one was the biggest stretch.
Need a little work.
I said it works. It needed more.
So our first ability we get at first level as Omens and Portends. You can perceive signs of the future in everyday objects and events such as flights of birds or ripples made in water by a thrown stone. You can cast the augury spell without expending a spell slot, and when you cast the spell in this way, the spell has a non-verbal, somatic, or material component. Once you cast the spell in this way, you cannot do so again until you finish a long rest. In addition, until you finish a long rest when you cast a divination spell that includes a chance the DM gives you no answer or a random reading, such as augury, commune, or divination, reduce the chance by 25%. So for some things, like they start at that 25%. So the first time you do it, it just completely reduces it. I think there's others where I think if you keep casting augury, I believe your percentage of getting a bad reading goes up.
So I definitely like it. It's a fun little ability, and the kind of character that deals in fates. I like the idea of like, oh, you're looking at the winds and you see something in the clouds, or you throw a stone in a pond and you just see, and you don't actually have to cast anything. The spell just goes off because there's no verbal, somatic, or material components, and I love that.
It's very thematic in that way. So also, you're getting access to a second level spell at first level, so 2 levels before you can technically do it, so that's kind of cool. Although, like a lot of them, it doesn't actually say that it gets added to your spell list.
Yes, this one doesn't say you learn the spell. It says you can cast it once a day. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, first level ability, not bad.
But that's not the only thing you get at first level. You also have the ties that bind. You can temporarily tie your fate to others. As an action, you can touch one object or creature and magically tie a strand of fate from yourself to it for 1 hour or until you use this feature again. An unwilling creature must succeed on a wisdom save against your DC to resist the effect. While the target is bound to you and on the same plane of existence as you, you can sense the direction of the target's location and know the direction of its movement if it's in motion. In addition, once per turn, when you cast a spell using a spell slot to deal damage or restore hit points to the target, roll a d6 and the target receives extra damage or healing, respectively, equal to the number rolled. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So it's pretty nice to be like, all right, I'm going to do it offensively or I'm going to do it defensively. It's useful.
Yeah, it's cool that you get to use it as a buff, which if you use it as a buff, it's guaranteed it's always going to be effective. Where if you try and use it as a debuff or to do extra damage, there's a chance that they shrug it off.
Yeah, it lets you follow them for an hour. I think that's helpful, and I would totally be like, all right, well, if the cleric is using this to follow somebody, and you can point the direction, like. That's a no-brainer. You can just follow somebody. And if you're having to do some kind of survival role, like I would do those automatically at some kind of advantage situation.
Well, for an hour too, so it's not like automatic either, right? So for like you have a general idea, but it's cool in the sense from the narrative point and from a DM's point, I think, in the sense that it could keep the adventure going,
right,
and keep them having a place to go in the general direction without knowing exactly where the bad guy is. Right. So we also are going to get Channel Divinity, Strands of Fate at second level. You can use your Channel Divinity to see and manipulate the strands of fate that weave around other individuals. As a bonus action, you can enter the state for up to 1 minute or until you lose your concentration, as if you were concentrating on a spell, for the duration. Whenever another creature you can see makes an attack roll or an ability check, you can use a reaction roll to give that person advantage or disadvantage. Your choice.
I love this. Having played, clerics and Channel Divinity not always coming up, I feel like this is something that I would use. Probably one of my favorite Channel Divinities, across the, all the cleric subclasses.
So, Grave's pretty good. But I will say, though, this combined with a Clockwork Sorcerer in your party and maybe a Lore Bard would be like brutal as far as the buffing and debuffing that's going on. Be a nightmare for your DM.
So we're going to move on to Insightful Striking at 6th level. As a bonus action, you can choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. Your magic grants you a brief vision of the target's defenses. Until the end of your next turn, you gain one of the following effects of your choice. The next time you make an attack roll against the target, roll a d6, add the number rolled to the total. The next time the target makes a saving throw against a spell you cast, the target must roll a d6 and subtract the number from your saving throw. And you can use this bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you get them all back after a long rest.
So I feel like there's a spell that does something similar. There's a spell that does something similar, and then there's a bard feature that does something similar as well. Like if you get enough of those people in the party and you really need someone to fail a saving throw, I mean, obviously legendary resistance trumps it all, but that could be pretty brutal.
All right, 8th level, our favorite thing for clerics.
Yeah, 8th level, you're gonna get potent spell casting, which is just Add your wisdom modifier to damage you deal with a cleric cantrip.
I don't know. I think Portent spellcasting would fit better here, wouldn't you?
Well, maybe, but I think this subclass is pretty powerful as it is.
Sure. All right, so last but not least, Visions of the Future. 17th level, your knowledge of the future allows you to guide an individual to achieve their greatest possible success. You can cast a Foresight spell once without expending a spell slot. When you cast a spell in this way, the spell's duration is 1 minute for that casting. Once you cast a spell in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Holy crap, Foresight is amazing.
Foresight is amazing. Getting to use it is really great. I mean, it's a shortened duration, but that's fine because you're just going to do it in a combat,
right?
And get it off. And generally, it's basically giving you an extra sort of spell slot for 8th level,
right.
An 8th level spell. So yeah, it's really good.
All in all, I think this is a really powerful subclass. I think the fates are always a fun thing to play with, and to have someone guided by them is kind of cool. So I think to me, if I were to play this, I would feel like I would attach myself to the group, and they're doing something amazing, and I'm along for the ride. And I would be one of these guys to kind of like chronicle their story.
I feel like there's a bard subclass. I'm not sure which one, but one of the bard subclasses and or the warlock subclass for the clockwork, like mixing this in would be great because you only need 6 levels, right? 6 levels, and you pretty much have everything we would want from it to do a multi-class. Yeah, who's going to see 17th level anyway? Right. We've made it clear we don't really care about potent spellcaster all that much. So I feel like we're going to see some crazy builds come out of this one if it makes it through as is.
Indeed. If you'd like another product that has some fate-based stuff. So the frozen tundra of Kretcher's Belt holds myth and magic waiting to be discovered. A giant imbued with immense arcane might has risen to become the Frost King, uniting 7 warlords through eldritch pacts, granting them a portion of his power. Adventurers travel to the sea of the Frost King's power, for the clans meet and become embroiled in a cold-blooded murder investigation. Included in are 3 new player character races, 2 new otherworldly patrons, 10 new creatures, including the Frost King, 2 new magic items, a new Tundra vehicle, an adventure for 4 to 6 characters of 3rd through 9th level.
What do you guys think? Do you like this domain? Would you allow it in your game? Do you think it's maybe a little OP and we're just getting more and more power creep? Let us know in the comments below and discuss it with the Nerdarchy community.
While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you're so fated, click on that notification bell. You know you want to.
We drop new videos Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so come on back. But you can't wait till then, no worries. We got a video up here you can check out for the first part of this Unearthed Arcana for Wonders of the Multiverse, where we talk about the glitchling.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.